Yeah, so we have looked at media, how media has an influence, or some of the challenges that are faced in media in terms of gender. We also have religion. What are some of the challenges that are experienced in a region in terms of gender? In a religious setting, what are some of the challenges that are experienced? We have looked in the family setting, we have looked in media setting, now we are into the religious setting. How does gender, or what are some of the challenges that are experienced, gender challenges that are experienced in a religious setting?
In some churches, they say women should not preach.
If they preach, what happens?
Nothing. They just live like that. They say men are the one who's supposed to be preaching in the church, not women.
What about another scenario?
Also, when they are choosing positions, men are mostly the ones who lead people. If they can compare to women, they only choose themselves have potential to lead people, women.
But have you discovered, despite it's the men leading in this religious setting, but there are more ladies attending these services than men? What is the reason behind this setting? That it's the more women attending these religious gatherings, but it's the males making the decisions for the religious setting. Why is it like that?
Maybe they believe women are able to handle better decisions at home than in churches.
What are we saying? Why is it that you find if you go to a religious setting, you find that there are a lot of women than males, but when it comes to decision making, it is males who make the decisions rather than women. Most of the decisions in a religious setting they are made by men. Why? And why is it that most religious gatherings they are fully covered by ladies than men?
Because women are emotional most of the time. So they think that the only way that can help them is to go to church. That's where they can live.
Okay, some studies have shown that because of the way boys and girls have been raised up, even the behaviors, most of the behaviors portrayed in males, most of them they are in a masculinity type of behavior, and most of maybe the activities which they engage themselves in, they are not much more affiliated to a religious setting. For example, if someone is drinking too much in a religious setting, it's considered that it's not good. While for the females, most of the females, there are very few females who drink too much or maybe drink. So it's like for them they are very more comfortable in that religious setting. While maybe some men they feel they are being left out because of some of the activities which they engage themselves in their daily life. So they find themselves not being much more connected to the religious setting. So women feel more emotional than men. Females socialize in more likely to align with religious values such as conflict mediation, tenderness, and humility, what we've just said. In contrast, men are likely to emphasize on rebellion, making religious less appealing. That's some of the studies that have shown that men are considered to be rebellious. So in the religious setting, to them it's not convenient. That's why you find most of the men, they are not much more attached to the religious setting. It's only very few men who are attached. And when you find out those men who are more attached to the religious setting, they are considered to be morally upright. So some religions restrict leadership to males, and there are some religions who restrict leadership to males, just as our friends have said. There are some religious settings whereby it's only men who are considered to lead, especially maybe the pastoring positions. Are we in agreement with that? Some of the churches, they don't consider women to be leaders or maybe to be pastors. They can lead maybe the female women's guild, but they cannot end up getting a pastor position. So those are the three areas that were family, media, and the major setting. Now, unequal access to education, unequal access of education to girls, access to schools, gender identity, construction, and home and society. We want to look at unequal access of education to girls, access to school, gender identity, construction at home and society. Unequal access of education to girls, access to schools, gender identity, construction at home and society. Is it true that we have unequal access of education to girls? Can you give an example or maybe a scenario which is in line with this point? Unequal access of education to girls.
Like some families, believe that it's not good to educate girls. Like before like the indoors or the what came in, most girls were denied access to education.
That is in the family setting. What about the school setting? Our schools convenient or maybe give access for more girls to go to school? In our communities, everyone should be looking from the community where they're coming from. Our communities are giving access for more girls to go to school. What are some of the maybe conditions or maybe points that you can prove to us that the schools or provide more accessibility for them? Because I've heard some studies have shown that some schools make it very hard for girls to attend school. They give examples of maybe pediatricians that they don't have enough pediatricians, so that's a challenge for girls to go to school, because especially maybe at the end of the month they get scared. When I experience my menses, how am I going to carry out myself because maybe the schools don't have enough pediatricians? Is it true that one is it is a point that makes you maybe not to go to school? It's true. How?
Like the example of even most schools, the government schools, most girls, they don't go to school because they don't have things like the center, family, nothing, so they don't attend school, they just stay at home.
But they have access to school. School is open to everyone, eh? They don't say, because you're a boy, you're not going to school. That's a personal decision you're trying to make because of your own health. But let's say per school band, do the school authority say, no, this school is not going to recruit boys only? So access to education in our communities is open to everyone, either girls or boys. But we find out only girls, we have our own maybe personal gender issues that make us not to go to school. But when it comes to access to education to girls, the schools are open to all genders, but maybe from the family background, maybe parents, they have that mindset, maybe we send only boys to school and we leave girls behind. That's why even we found out in the long run we had the introduction of free primary education, so that, because back then parents would give an excuse, I can't manage to send both sexes to school because of maybe fees, it's expensive, so I would rather prioritize sending only boys to school on their own reasons based on to themselves. So that's why we saw coming in on free primary education, though even nowadays it's no longer free. You see there are some little contributions which by the end of the day also. So access to schools, women and girls continue to face multiple barriers to education based on gender, harmful gender stereotypes, child marriages, unintended pregnancy, gender-based violence against women and girls, lack of inclusive and quality learning environments, the quality environments that we have just talked about, and inadequate and safe education infrastructure, including sanitation. We've already talked about this. Poverty, that's preferring boys to go to school than to schools and girls. We've also already talked about this. And in a family setting, maybe where finances are a problem, you find out good parents prioritize sending their boys to school, leaving girls behind. They'll give out because they don't have enough finances, so I'll be like to send my boys to school, and these girls are going to stay at home, get married, then they become someone's wife, and they'll continue bearing kids and the like. So, Indian society context, we're going to look at from an Indian perspective the problem with gender equality in Indian education system. Maybe some of us will have an idea how does this gender, or how has gender affected the education system in India? Maybe you came across it in documentary, or maybe you just have some knowledge on this. You came across, you read something on this. So they say a large number of 12 Indian children not in schools are females. They're saying a large population of people or children who don't go to school in India are children. Only 26% of girls completed secondary school compared to 50% of boys between 2006 to 2010. So you can see in an Indian context, they prefer sending a lot of boys to school. In a percentage, it's 50% boys going to school, 26% of girls going to school between 2006 to 2010. The inequality is more pronounced in low-income families. As we've already said, this situation is more relevant to low-income families. So we might also be sharing the same scenarios, even here in Malawi, as I've said, especially in low-income areas. It's whereby most parents would prefer sending their boys to school than girls. From here in towns, it's relevant. Not in school is becoming fashionable. If you don't go to school, you're being considered an outcast in our societies. What are you going to be doing in the morning? You just wake up, just hanging around in the hood. Not really, at least you have to go and get some education. So 82% of boys are literate against 65% of girls. That's in 2011. Illiteracy, that means those people who are able to read and write. So it's 82% for the boys and 65% for the girls. Causes of gender inequality in India include poverty, cultural beliefs that cause discrimination against girls according to the UNICEF studies. So cause of gender inequality in India is mainly poverty and cultural beliefs. And this could also be similar to here in Malawi, cultural beliefs. Some cultural beliefs, they consider a girl child to be just staying at home. For them, they are always just staying at home bearing kids. So another barrier is lack of sanitation in schools for adults and girls. So that is in an Indian context, some of the challenges that are experienced in an Indian context in terms of gender and education. Now, power and authority in Malawian school system. Let us look at power and authority in Malawian school system. Power and authority in Malawian social. Power and authority in Malawian social system. We're going to look at the patriarch and the matriarch power systems, these two power systems. What do you understand by the word patriarch or patrino? Do you know that you have these two power settings here in Malawi? Patrino and matrine. Patrino and matrino. Is it a new word to you? You've never come across this word?
Yes.
Serious?
No, it's not new.
If you if
That, for me, I just say that I don't believe
but for us, when I remember coming across this word when I was in primary school, social studies, primary. So if you have forgotten and able to remember remember. Imagine. Patrino.
For example, at a secondary school, there is someone, or someone who look after children, or who takes care of children. And they will go in Patrino. Well, who's accounting the one guys we call in Patrino.
In a family setting, like for example, like in our cultures, who knows it's patrino, it's the inheritance all happens to the male side. The woman, or in the cultural perspective, it is the male who has more power than the female. But when in the southern region, it is the matrino. It's the man. The man goes to the lady's side. So we're talking in that context. So patriarch, P-A-T-R-I-A-R-C-H-Y, patriarch. P-A-T-R-I-A-R-C-H-Y, patriarch. So patrino, that means P-A-T-R-I-R-L-I-N-E-L, patrino. So here children, the patriarch, here children belong to the group of the father, as I've already said. And here, like literally here in Malawi, which parts of Malawi do children belong to the father? Not the region. There is it a new word to you now?
It's not new for the example.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you. Since now I've explained the meaning, is it new to you now? Or maybe it's no longer new. You knew it, but you didn't know it.
Yes, because like in the civil organization, the patron and the matron.
No, it's not.
From the example together.
Oh, like okay. From the secondary setting, matron, the one who stays with the ladies at the hostel, then patron, the one. Okay, fine. So the patriarch is more of the patrino. It's whereby where here children belong to the group of the father. Marriage is patriarchal. Wife moves to the husband's home. So anything but patriarch means the man has more power. Inheritance of property and succession to land are in the male line. So patriarch means the male side has more power than the female side. Remember, we're looking at power and authority in Malawian social system. That's the subtopic we're looking at.
So, another question. In Malawi, are you taking Malawi as a home country or what?
Yeah, Malawi as a country.
That means it's not only the ruling that we use the system of inheritance that it's really not supposed to inherit.
No, we're giving an example.
Yes.
Because
I'm asking on the topic of state power and authority, right? That means
we're going to look at all the powers, the patriarch and the matriarch. So I've said look at the patriarch. So in the patriarch, saying it means patrilineal descent. Here children belong to the group of the father. Marriage is patriarchal. Wife moves to the husband's home. Inheritance of property and succession of rank are in the male line. This one is relevant to the chiefs. If you go to the northern region, you find that most of the chiefs are males. Correct me if I'm wrong.
not even most, but every you should do it like it must, a chief must be
A male. So that's the patriarch. Power belongs to the male. That's the Malawian social system. While the matriarch is the opposite. It's matrilineal descent. Matriarch society, descent, inheritance and succession are in the female line. Marriage is matrilocal. The husband moves to the wife's village. The husband goes to build a house at the wife's village. That means that man is fully married. While the patriarch is there.
I have a question. So here it's the wife who pays the water.
No.
Is it matriarch?
Anyone having an answer?
Since you are saying that the husband moves to the wife.
It depends with the.
Okay, it's like putting. Can you
It
help?
depends with the culture of how to go the tribe. Because like me, I'm from Britain. It means when someone wants to marry, they have to pay more. While someone from Mula, the man has to. They don't pay a lot, but the man has to go. Who has to move from this place to the readiest place in building house.
But they don't
They don't pay.
Oh, they just get married.
Where do you come from?
Zambia.
I see. Okay, fine. Yeah. So yeah, the patriarch, they also have their own, because culture society, it's constructed. So you find everybody in the north they pay Robola, while in the centre we have very few, like the Ngonis. They're the ones who pay Robola as well. Here in the centre. I'm gonna go chew Sabeka Robola. Sabeka. Yeah, I know from the southern region. Southern region is there's nothing. The man pays nothing.
Just build their house.
You just go to your wife and build a house. That means you're full and now married. Well, for the northern region, you have to pay Robola. Nowadays, it's rare that they pay live cows. It's equivalent to money. Yeah. So the matriarch, inheritance and succession are in the female. That's why you find when you go to the southern region, you find most chiefs are females. While when you go to the north, most of them they are male. And in the matriarch, the children belong to the woman. While the patriarch, children belong to the man. At least now we're able to understand and be able to differentiate these two. These two terms. So, any questions with that? Any questions? Any comments before we proceed?
Question. In matriarch, you said the society is ruled by women, but not all the time. Also, men can.
I've come across some chiefs who are male who serve. There are some chiefs who are male, there are some chiefs who are female, because the chieftain as he moves from family to family.
It depends on the society, or I believe, for example, that most of the chiefs are women.
Kasungu have Kasungu North and Kasungu South. So the North they take country traits up north. But most of the inheritance happens to the male side. But many this part of Kasungu they also behave like the same two cultures. So the chieftaincy happens to the female side. But if you go to the southern region, in central region, you find most of the chiefs, most of them they are women, because the power belongs to the women. Most of the inheritance is the women who have much power than the patriarchs. Or maybe you can go maybe in the, for example, in the central region, maybe there are some also minority groups of cultures which still more practice the patriarch style. So if you're in a certain type of a community, you're able to know that following this type of cultural practices, where your mindset will be like, okay, that means these people they are following the patriarch power system. If you see this is how they are carrying out their things, their inheritance to the mother and the like, then you're able to relate with, okay, that means here in this community power belongs to the women. Any comments? Now let us look at socialization of the child into specific gender influences and opportunities for education. Socialization of the child into specific gender influences and opportunities for education. Into specific gender influences and opportunities for education. What do you understand by the word socialization? What does the term socialization mean? Opportunities for education.
Socialization. And how you operate with your friends, or how you operate with your friends.
Anyone to add socialization?
The ability to interact with others.
Ability to interact with others. What are the rest saying? Socialization. How do you understand this term socialization? In your own wording, how can you put it? Socialization.
How someone interacts with others.
How someone interacts with others.
How they socialize.
Okay, it's the process through which people learn and acquire the characteristics of the social groups to which they belong. The process through which people learn and acquire the characteristics of the social group to which they belong. Are you aware that we have different social groups? Can you mention some of the social groups you know? In our societies, we have different social groups. Can you mention some of the social groups you know?
Like for the children, know gender.
General. Can either be for the children, it can either be any type of setting as long as it's a social group.
When they have a groups to share them.
The VSL, Village Savings Loans, those are social groups. Another social group,
Youth clubs.
youth clubs. Even the church, they also have social groupings.
Yes.
Even here at school, we have different social groups here. Are we having only one group in here at this school? No. And it's up to you to make up a decision which social group do I want to associate myself to. So socialization is the process through which people learn and acquire the characteristics of the social group to which they belong. If you look deep into these different social groups, you find out that each and every social grouping has its own specific characteristics. If it's a VCL group, that means for them, they are meeting in that group or they're able to socialize because all of them, they have one trade of finance. If it's a wild, for example, maybe I remember in primary school, if it's a wildlife setting group, that means those people they are sharing some traits of wildlife setting. So they are different. Maybe it's a clubbing group, they are sharing those traits of. Even in hostel, would have your different social group in there. There are some groups which are religious groups. There are some groups which have also a certain labeling, so you have different social groupings. So that's socialization. Now, gender. What is gender socialization now? We have looked at the word socialization. Now we're going into gender socialization. What does it mean? Gender socialization, what does it mean?
Maybe just try how one interacts with both sex, like male and female. The interaction
What do we think others? Gender socialization. The process through which children learn about the social expectations, the attitudes and behaviors typically associated with boys and girls. Gender socialization, the process through which children learn about the social expectations, attitudes, behaviors typically associated with boys and girls. So gender socialization is more of, as our friend has already said, trying to socialize the expectations, the attitudes, the behaviors. Are we in agreement that different genders portray different behaviors? Can you give an example?
the society is living most of the say female children are not the
Is it true?
yes.
Oh. Why do this happen? Why are girls more talkative than boys?
We don't know.
Eh?
It depends.
So there are very few boys who are talkative.
Yes.
And when a boy is too much talkative, considered to be very weird. So experts agree that natural or nature, experts agree that nature or biology and natural environment together in the, okay, they're saying including nature and the environment act together in reciprocally casual interactive way to produce gender differences. Experts agree that nature and the environment, the biology and environment act together. They act in reciprocal interactive way to produce gender differences. Is it true? The environment and our biological setup, they act in agreement or reciprocal interactive way to produce gender differences. The differences afforded to boys and girls within schools are known to affect gender differentiation both directly by providing differentiation skills, practice and reinforcement, and indirectly by providing input that leads children to actively socialize themselves along gender differentiated pathways. So it's like the environment and our biological setup, the way interchangeable, whereby they affect us directly or indirectly. Directly how? By providing skills and reinforcements according to a specific gender. That's direct. Indirectly by providing input that leads children to actively socialize themselves along gender differentiated pathways. So it's one way that you're regarded as a male, then the other way, even the roles that you play in society also are being influenced or affected by the way you are, either you're a male or a female. So the way we socialize in our communities, in our societies, schools are major context for gender socialization. Are we in agreement with that? Because in life of a human being, we spend most of our times in school. The first 8 years you're in primary school. The next 4 years you're in secondary school. The next 4 years or so you're in college. So if anybody, by the end of your life, most of your time is covered in being at school. So that's where most of this socialization takes place. Schools are a major context of gender socialization, mainly because children spend a lot of time with peers in that setting. Peers and teachers play a role in gender differentiation by providing boys and girls with different learning opportunities and feedback. They are sources of learning about gender. So the fact that children spend most of their time being at school, the school teachers also have an upper hand in influencing how children, influencing their mindset in terms of gender. Because you find out, I remember back then there was a setting whereby some teachers would put girls sitting in one side and boys sitting in one side. If you're a girl, found you're seated like the way you're sitting, it could be something weird. So these are some of the examples of how the school or maybe teachers have an impact or influence the gender perception in children. It starts from even like for when in terms of maybe our extracurricular activities, you find they differentiate these activities. They are mainly for girls. These ones are mainly for boys. If you find a girl is maybe being very active in football, that girl is labeled weird. So teachers present curricular material that contain gender stereotypic behavior, and peers present gender stereotypic attitudes and behavior. Children internalize gender stereotypes and prejudices, which in turn guide their preference and behavior. So whatever is happening in school, those gender stereotypes which are being carried out at school, those children, they end up picking, or maybe they become part of them, so that even wherever they are going in society, they still more maintain those behaviors and preferences. So it's stayed a long way from the school setting. So some of us here are going to be teachers, or some of us are going to have a very upper hand in our societies. We have to take note of this, that the way we carry ourselves, the way we present our curriculum materials has a very big or powerful influence on how the ones who are relating the information they are going to go out there and be able to impact whatever we're imparting in them. So you have to be very sensitive, gender sensitive. Any questions or maybe any comments? There are no comments. How do teachers contribute to gender differences? How teachers contribute to gender differences? Can you mention some of the points? How teachers contribute to gender differences? I'm going to give an example how teachers contribute to gender differences in a school setting. You find out some teachers encourage boys to take maths. They will even tell them it's very simple. Even in sciences, it's very simple. But for the girls, they will tell them, no. Maths is very tough. Is it true? So those are some of the examples or points on how teachers contribute to gender differences. Can you give another example? I've given mine in terms of subjects. That the teacher will tell you the maths is very easy, telling the boys.
Even in the school, boys and girls, the first position they must give them, they know.
Can you come again?
A school where a school of boys and girls, you find out that most number 1, 2, 3
Positions,
Yeah.
class positions.
yes, will be given to the males and maybe the females will start from number 4.
But class positions, are they determined by the teacher? Class positions are determined by the class performance, and it's very rare for class positions to be biased. It's very rare. Because, for example, it can, I'm not putting it out there, yes, it can happen. But for example, that's why now that gender equality comes in. If all of you're having the same exam, either it's a boy or a girl having the same exam, then the scores, the girl or the performance, the way you perform determines the position you're going to get in that course. So if maybe it's just because the mentality, the mindset, then could girls have the mindset, which I can't do much better in this course, so they end up performing poor in that course. So by the end of the day, it's the males who are dominating because the girls' performance has been poor, but the mindset or maybe the attitude which the teacher planted in those students contribute to their low performance. Maybe you can say in that kind
I think the better point of the statement was in terms of positions like the head teacher, the
power positions.
Power
Positions, maybe in that context.
Yeah.
In terms of positions in class, that one is determined by the performance. Yes, we agree with the performance of the girl child can be affected because of the attitude which has been planted in those girls. Because whatever we hear affects our mindset. If maybe you're in an environment where they tell you can't do good in this subject, it's tough. So you have that mentality. You don't even put extra effort for you to work hard. By the end of the day, that means in that class you're going to perform poorly. In terms of maybe leadership positions, yes, it can happen because sometimes, as you said, maybe teachers can also affect maybe the after, especially if maybe you have a biased election mode of election of these positions. Who determines the elections of different power positions at school? Do schools carry out a vote or maybe just teachers selecting?
Some kind of votes, but still more they discuss.
They also ballot boxes go around the school, students vote. One speaker at a time, please. Is it true?
Yes, madam. I'm a cousin that's a position, and then play with Manga Pyramid. We voted for her and
how do you know that the school authority already had those people in mind?
They help me as well.
Not even the we are here, we are 6 people, right? And then I have Margaret, who did you vote for? Man was there, I voted for that bit. This one said I voted for that bit. This one said I voted for that bit. Maybe only 2 will say I didn't vote for that bit. We'll find out that the difference. That means the stuff.
Then you conclude good is the school management who told that person.
That's what they actually did in civil days.
So, according to your experience, is it good or bad?
It's bad. It's very bad.
How is it bad?
Why were they saying our
choices?
Okay, so in these biases can be consciously endorsed or unconsciously, and they influence teachers' classroom behavior. So some of these biases, they are done consciously or unconsciously. For example, maybe in a classroom setting whereby someone has done very well, a friend would maybe it's a boy, then the teacher would say clap hands for that person. It motivates, one way of motivation. But for the girl child, maybe they will not even clap hands or they will not even give any type of motivation. So some of these biases, they are done consciously, while others, they are done unconsciously. So you should also be aware of that. In greeting the class, good morning boys and girls. Encouraging boys to play on their own and girls on their own, especially in preschool setting. And when in preschool setting, also their teachers also have a very upper hand in influencing these gender differences. You find out those preschool kids, they are put into groups whereby only boys play boys only, girls are playing girls only. Even the toys which they are distributed to these boys and girls, they're different depending on their type of sex. So you should be very sensitive in case you also become a preschool teacher, or maybe you're dealing with preschool children. You should be gender sensitive in the way you carry out yourself, in the way you maybe share the classroom activities in class. You should be gender sensitive. Most teachers lack training in recognizing and combating gender stereotypes and prejudices. As a result, teachers often model, expect, reinforce, and lay foundation of gender differentiation among their pupils. How do peers influence each other in traditional gender behaviors? How do peers, what do you understand by the word a peer? Who is a peer, or who is your peer? A friend. You have the same age group, people of the same age groups. So how do they influence each other in traditional gender behaviors? Children choose same-sex playmates. This is gender segregation. This in turn affects the children's experiences, leading them to spend a lot of time in stereotypic play, thus shaping their future. I've already talked about this. Even here at campus, does this happen? Only boys hang around boys, girls hang around girls only.
No.
It's not common.
Yes. We combine here. We don't have both.
You don't differentiate. Could for us girls, we only hang out girls only.
I'm not saying that.
Why? Why you don't differentiate? So it's only in primary, it's only in preschool, primary, so why you differentiate? When it comes to college, you don't.
Yes.
Why?
We are in the field. While secondary,
It's not a free world. Secondary school is not a free world.
No, I'm saying here, but here we're in the field, we are not living in, I can stay the whole day. And around the campus with the boys, and you say, secondary, they are saying to be pairing, I be pairing. So you have the whole day with the boys, you say to be pairing, suspension, and dismiss on the back as a way.
Oh, here it doesn't exist. So peers contribute to gender differentiation by teaching their classmates things like short hair is for boys, not girls, and pushing them through verbal harassment when they fail to conform. So if a peer is not trying to conform to your peer group, you harass them with words. What are some of the harassment words which are used when a certain peer doesn't want to conform to our peer group? What are some of the harassment words which are used? So there are some of the words which are used, which peers share when they say the peer doesn't want to conform to their specific peer groups, which is not good. As individuals, let us have that freedom to conform to any peer group that we want. Because when we are conforming to those groups, there are specific reasons why we deem ourselves to conform to that group. Maybe it's not our taste. Maybe there are some things which you as a person are not very free to conform to that group. So let us not harass our friends by forcing them to conform to our group. No. Not long ago, boys took PE classes or arts and crafts, while girls did needlework and cookery. Back then, it was only the girls who would do cookery. So the time the girls are going for cookery class, the boys would go for creative artwork. while girls go for the needlework and cookery thing. But do those classes exist anymore? They do, but very not much. So boys took maths and science while girls did physics, calculus, computer programming, and girls specialized in home economics, biology, music, and shorthand. Back then it was.
But now this generation.
It has changed. Back then we used to have it was only girls who were considered to be secretaries. You wouldn't find a boy a secretary. Back then it was only the girls. But nowadays things are changing.
Almost the girls in secondary school they take sciences.
They even encourage girls to take sciences. Girls in sciences. Then this resulted, back then this resulted in men missing out on life skills and women missing out on athletics, maths, and science and technology because they were being segregated. Any questions? Any comments? Any questions? Any comments? Okay. If there are no questions, if there are no comments, I think let's look at this assignment. So I have this assignment, explain the gender differences that gender roles encountered by Malawian children in the family and the school, the choice of professions and future goals for girls. Okay, so I have this assignment.